let's talk about URLs. While this may seem like a really simple concept to understand, if you're considering getting into application hacking, software development, or web development, it's absolutely vital that you understand how a user's browser might interact with your application. And URLs can provide a lot of that information and so much more. My name is Will, and welcome back to my Intro to the Internet series. Okay, so last video we talked about what goes on behind the scenes whenever you press enter inside your web browser. Well, today, let's talk about what happens right in front of you. A URL is what you're going to enter into your browser bar. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, and as the name implies, it is a uniform way for your browser to send requests and to locate resources across the web. In order to understand what all this means, we're going to need to take a look at a fully fleshed out URL, one that has all of its optional and its necessary parts, and we're going to dive into what each of those parts are. As you can see above, we have a couple different parts in the URL. We have the scheme, the host or the domain name, port, path, queries, and then what are called fragments or anchors. The first portion of the URL that you're going to see is what's called the scheme. This is almost always going to be HTTP or HTTPS. It allows the server to know which scheme that you want to use. After the scheme, you're going to have a colon and a //. Immediately following that, you'll have what's called the authority. The authority is a combination of a domain name or host name and a port. Now, ports we'll go over in a different video, and domain names we went over in our last video. All that you really need to understand about a port is that you could think of it as a gate by which that traffic comes in and out of the server. It's also worth mentioning that the standard port for HTTP and HTTPS is 80 and 443 respectively. After the authority, you're going to have what is called the path. You may see something similar to this in a Windows File Explorer or something like that. In the early days of the internet, this actually represented a physical file path on the server. Though nowadays it's more of an abstraction that's not relative to any physical reality, but this can vary and change based on web application and its designers. As you can see, I've navigated to bestbuy.com and pulled up two different products on the screen that are in the same category. Each one has a unique file path associated with the actual product, and each of those file paths actually contains a unique SKU or product identifier inside the file path. After the file path portion of the URL, you're going to have an optional portion called a query string. Queries are separated from the rest of the URL by a question mark and separated from each other by an ampersand. These come in key value pairs, such as login equals true, or key equals value 1, or key equals value 2. All that these allow you to do is provide additional information to the server so that it may take actions on behalf of the user. For the query string, you may see a pound symbol, or if you're a little bit younger, a hashtag. This will lead you to what is called an anchor, or fragment. All that this really does is it serves as sort of a bookmark within inside the page. So when your browser loads that page, it will take you to that portion of the page. This can actually include page numbers or specific portions of an article or timestamps in a YouTube video or something of the sort. And so that is the anatomy of a URL. I hope this helps you in all of your journeys and your web application hacking and maybe even some development stuff. On a later video, we might talk about relative URLs versus absolute URLs or things like that. If you enjoyed this video, of course, leave a like, subscribe, comment, all those good and lovely things, and I'll see you next time. And so that is the... Why is this still on my screen? It doesn't have to be.